And so you see that there's a big gap there, a temperature gap that we've talked about. Richard, I'm going to emphasize that temperature gap is one of the big key missing elements, a key question that we have to keep throwing out because it's extremely important. There's considerable evidence for melted metal, not just steel, as you'll see shortly, because we've analyzed this material, the drops that we found in the dust. Okay, let me not spend too much time on this. Wood-burning stove, I have one. It's never melted on me. I also have a kerosene burning stove. Jet fuel is a type of kerosene. I'm not worried about it melting either. And now, in the dust, there are spheres that are rich in iron. These are spheres that I took with a colleague using the... okay, Richard, what's the trick here? Oh, there we go. Okay, spray out. This is water. It's acid. This is water. And if I spray it out in a fine spray, all right, fairly fine. You see that little? There's droplets that form. What form does the liquid drops take right away as they get into the air? Spheres, right. And why is that? It's because of surface tension pulling that into a sphere. See? You know it's a liquid when you see the sphere, because if it was ice, it wouldn't form into a sphere. Besides that, it's too warm for ice. There's a parallel there too, but I won't pursue it. With the dust, we observe, as I've reported before, you'll find it in the Journal of 9/11 Studies, May 2007 issue, my paper on the spheres. It's the early paper on these spheres. We have an abundance, thousands in a tablespoonful of this dust, for example. And others have reported these spheres, as we'll see. Now, again, steel melts at 1500 centigrade, about 2800 Fahrenheit. The maximum temperature of the fires was about 1000 centigrade. That's a 500-degree gap. How do we get all these iron-rich? Now, I'm not saying steel. We'll see in a moment. We've analyzed these. These are not steel. That's another point. Even if you melted the steel, these are not steel. Some of them actually do look like steel that's melted. I mean, as you cut through steel, you're going to get some steel drops, but also what you cut with is going to form drops. Okay, some of you know I'm leading up to thermite there, but we see an abundance of these spheres, very high temperature. Notice this one is hollow. See the piece that is chipped off? We see that quite frequently. It's interesting for some of you scientists to pursue. What makes these hollow? But actually we see that in thermite also. You get spheres and a number of them are hollow. Now, the United States Geological Survey and others report the existence of these spheres. This is from the USGS report. I called up on the phone and I asked one of the principal authors, Greg Meeker, nice fellow. He kept asking me, why are you asking this? Where are you from? And so on. But I was asking him, how do you explain these spheres in the dust? To me, this is smoking gun evidence for very high temperatures. I know that explosives can produce these spheres. The thermite reaction in particular is highly exothermic, energy releasing. It produces these spheres. What was his explanation for these spheres? He said, well, because there's no mention in their paper of an explanation for these spheres. And he said, well, we don't know, but we thought maybe it was during the cleanup operation where steel is being cut with an oxyacetylene torch. And now my response was, well, we see a number of these spheres that have aluminum as well as iron. And there's another objection now. We have some dust that was collected within 20 minutes of the collapse of the North Tower, the second tower. That cannot be, therefore, due to cutting of steel, right? Steel was not being cut 20 minutes after the collapse of the tower. It was not for a while. This was during the panic stage, and later they had the rescue stage, and then finally the cleanup. This is the R.J. Lee report. Again, a very extensive study of the dust and they show here spherical iron particles, several of them. We're not alone. There's no escaping this, folks. These data are out there, they're published. Anybody, I don't care whether you're Mormon, or Muslim, Catholic, Hindu, Jew, it doesn't matter. Scientific method cuts through all belief systems. Everybody can see these spheres. Atheist, doesn't matter. You can see the spheres, right? It doesn't matter whether you believe 9/11 was due to some rogue element in the government or what. It doesn't matter. You get your scanning electron microscope, as both of these groups have done and we have done. You look at these are prevalent. I'm sure there's a number of these in Boston. And you will see these spheres in the dust. And I'll tell you how you can, in fact, right now. Oh, thank you. Thank you. If you want some dust, just write to me. I have various people now that have come forward. Now this steel, also an example of severe high temperatures. Something has attacked this steel. One of these is from World Trade Center 7. The other from the tower's rubble. This is published by Barnett. You can't escape it. That is to say, it's touchable, it's tangible evidence, hard physical evidence. This is not the result of some fires. If you claim it is, please show me how to do this. Set up a fire, burn office materials, put a steel beam there, and see it turn to the Swiss cheese, thinned out material. Now, I can do this with thermate attacking, which is thermite with sulfur added, attacking steel. We've actually done that with a piece of this World Trade Center steel. We've attacked it with thermate. It does punch holes in it. Thermate does. New York Times, perhaps the greatest, the deepest mystery uncovered in the investigation. Well, why then did NIST not deal with these data? Okay, evaporated lead has also been observed. This is by the R.J. Lee group. Just cut to the chase here. Existence of extremely high temperatures during the collapse, which caused metallic lead to volatilize. Evaporating lead requires 1749 centigrade, 3180 Fahrenheit. That's way above what these fires could have reached. This is hard physical evidence for some extremely high temperatures during the collapse. Folks, we're not just dealing with fairyland speculation here. These are hard data by other groups too. Ourselves, yes, we can corroborate each other. Can't be escaped. It has to be dealt with then. So how do you create these iron-rich spheres? There are also glassy spheres. I haven't talked much about those, but they're also prevalent in the dust. Again, these aluminosilicates melt at above 1500 centigrade, plus or minus. Lead-coated fibers, and then the steel beams like Swiss cheese. This is what I call the temperature gap. It's about 1,000 degrees. If you look at Fahrenheit, if you look at the temperature of the fires, maximum, 1830 Fahrenheit, to evaporate lead, so it's around 3,000 Fahrenheit. So the gap there is over 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. There's an enormous temperature gap. And Ian's colleague, several colleagues have written a paper about this, and we hope it will be published fairly soon. How can you explain it? Again, NIST is unable to explain the total collapse of these buildings, has not looked for the residue of thermite. They told us that.